What's going on, guys? It is MurderInc here, back with another Raid Shadow Legends video. And what if I told you you could bypass a very strong passive such as Duchess Lilitu? Everyone knows, and if you don't know, I'm going to go to it very briefly here. Duchess Lilitu is one of the tankiest and overall best champions for a lot of content in this game. She's a really cool passive here, Ethereal Waves, decreasing the damage taken by all allies from AOE attacks by 25%, 15% from bosses. That stacked on top of Perfect Veil buff that also provides AOE damage reduction on top of things. However, I was recently introduced to a way that you can actually bypass this. Many players have been doing this for a while, but they haven't realized it's worked this way. And before I get into the details, I have to give a huge shout out to the one, the only H.G Centy for bringing this up to me. This is something that I had honestly no idea about. He figured this out through looking at the actual coding of the champion skills, how it worked here, and after he told me this, I could think of a few instances where I did see a few things that didn't make too much sense to me, but I had no idea why it was happening. I just assumed one thing, and we'll get to the details of that, but huge shout out to H.G Centy. Time and again, this guy proves how smart he is when he's digging into details of things, so major respect to him. Getting back to Duchess, it doesn't only apply to Duchess, as we did mention with the Perfect Veil buff. Any damage reduction or ability that is applied to AOE abilities or area of effect can be bypassed. Now, how is this possible? The perfect example, and one of the champions I was referring to earlier that I noticed something a bit different about, is going to be Trunda Guilt Mallet. So of her abilities, which one is the one that's going to bypass? I'm not even going to consider the A2 here, because most people by now understand that attacking one enemy then attacking all other enemies with a second hit is considered a single target hit, because it's pretty much just a cascading single hit from there on, which only leaves one realistic answer, which is going to be the A3. Now, how can an A3 like this bypass an AOE passive that provides literally anything? The answer that H.G Centy figured out is when it says extra hit here, this is actually coded to where each and every single hit from Forge Rhythm after the first one is applied as single target hits on each champion. So this is why you will notice, as I have noticed while using Trunda as a nuker, that her second hit has the possibility, based on crit damage threshold and attack threshold, to do significantly more damage than the original first hit of this attack. Now, what other champions can this apply to? One of the best examples, making it one of the most iconic team comps for the arena that I can think about, is going to be the Blender. Now, Senesha has an A1 ability that also places an extra hit. This is not considered an AOE once again. This is considered single target hits on each enemy under 50% HP. Now moving on to Senesha's sister, this is where things get a little bit interesting, and not that many of you are going to be surprised by this, but now we're going to talk about Skull Crown. Skull Crown in a sense works exactly like Senesha, right? Unfortunately, the answer is wrong. While it's almost identical as far as placing an extra hit with the condition here, Skull Crown's A1 ability that attacks all enemies here is actually considered an AOE on the extra hit. So there is, in a sense, zero way without looking at the coding of champions that place an AOE extra hit to know if the champion is actually applying an AOE or if it's placing a single target ability. So figuring out this information for every single champion would take, of course, tons and tons of work. However, we could possibly be finding new champions on the horizon that can be worked to counter lots of champions. So now let's think about one champion that's recently been at the top of the hype, especially from a video that I personally released, and that's going to be Magnar. Why is Magnar so good and so comparable to Trunda in many situations? It is because his A2 ability works the exact same way as Trunda's. This is considered an extra hit on enemies instead of an AOE ability on the second hit here. So he is also, just like Trunda and Senesha, he is avoiding any type of penalty from an AOE buff that the enemy could have on them, with this second hit here making it so powerful. So this kind of makes you wonder, what other champions do we have at our disposal that can do the same exact thing? Now the question is, have you guys noticed anything like this when using these champions in any type of content? Whether it's Doom Tower Waves, Arena, any champions that have a multi-hit ability where the second hit has been seen more often than not to have much higher numbers. And to counter that point, what type of defensive champions could you possibly use in an arena team that are having their passives simply ignored because of this very strange way of plarium coding. So now what we can do is we can go and fight some teams here. We just make a new team here. We're going to be using a trunda for sure. We do also want a Madame Ceres. The main question we're going to be looking at here is, can we notice something visually from these targets here when we do see Trunda's second hit go off against someone like a Duchess here? So we're not going to see the perfect Veil debuff, I'm pretty sure. Let's go ahead and turn meter boost this team. Let's use this sleep here. Now we do have a Veil buff here, so we might notice something a little bit extra on the Cantrifin here, unless he wakes up before Trunda gets a turn. Let's go ahead and A1. Okay, he is woken up, so we're not going to see anything there. Let's go ahead and use this A2 and 1x speed and see if we notice the difference between the first AOE hit to the second AOE hit on every single champion here. So 34 and 42,000, that could be something as little as the crit damage threshold. There were a few other numbers, but the Duchess number is really what I was focused on here. So it looks like we're gonna have to find another team, and I'll look at a champion besides Duchess to see if there's a better example of something that's more in front of us that we can really determine the distance there. However, that definitely wasn't a bad attempt by any means. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and try this team right here. The Valkyrie shouldn't be an issue. We should be able to push Valkyrie's turn meter to go in front of Madame Ceres here. Let's go ahead and use the sleep. Okay, we got the sleep anyways, so it does not matter. The defense down on everybody. Let's go ahead and just put a random sleep anywhere we want. Now 1x speed, Trunda again, looking at this Forge Rhythm A3 ability. Let's take a look at some of the numbers we see. So for Sifi, it was 22 and 24,000. Now it shouldn't be applying the damage multiplier 2 separate times there, so that should be a pretty decent example. However, we are going to be able to get a second go at this to maybe even possibly see a new set of results here. So now we have the counterattack coming out here, ally protection as well. This is going to make things a little bit more difficult. We're gonna have to look mainly on the Krisk for the 2 main hits here. And the Krisk was just way too difficult to see since he got off that ally protection. Let's go ahead, skip, see if we can find this team. This is perfect. We have Green Affinity, we have Brogni. This should be a perfect example of being able to show you guys exactly what I'm trying to get over, even though I'm pretty sure most of you already see the point already. Let's go ahead and sleep these guys here. It worked on 2 of the 4 champions. Defense down applied. We have the Veil buff now on top of everybody, which is good. Let's go ahead and sleep Duchess. Now we're going to do 1x speed A3, so we have Veil on 3 champions. We have Duchess passive actively working. We don't have defense down on Brogni anymore, so let's go ahead and focus on Mother Cybele as well as Vogoth here for straight numbers and application. So we have 37 and 62,000 damage there. That was a massive difference. I didn't quite catch what the difference was on the Mother Cybele. However, let's go ahead and A1 this champion so Trunda actually gets a turn before this guy. Hopefully, at least. Okay, Trunda's going to get to A2 again, so we should be able to see it because there is a Veil buff here reducing AoE damage. Okay, so 46 and 56. By this point in time, I'm pretty sure I've made things rather clear to people as far as what we can expect, what the heck I'm talking about, and what H.G Centy figured out if you weren't able to understand it from the start of the video as I was explaining it. So I thought this was really cool. Like I said, people like me have been playing this game for over 2 years and I had no idea this has been here and in the game for such a long time. So with that being said, I'm kind of looking forward to what this is going to lead to as far as other champions, what we can figure out. Maybe you guys have figured something out. Leave a comment if you think you've noticed something else with any other champion that has an AoE ability that applies an extra hit, as far as noticing the damage difference of these champions, and just another reason on top of the 1,000 reasons we already have for champions like Trunda and Magnar being so much better than every other AoE nuker in the entire game. Alright guys, that's going to conclude my video today on the awesome way to kind of ignore Duchess Passive based on how some of these champions are in fact coded. Once again, us knowing plarium, it's not consistent across every single champion, and description, you'd have to look at the actual code files to figure out which champion's working this certain way, outside of just natural observation. If you enjoy content like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss my next video, and I will see you all in the next upload.